Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, your weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 643 on Tuesday, the 5th of August, 2025. Hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew. And this week you'll hear about how the government doesn't have to counter the courts. In new car news, you get to find out how it's SUVs all the way. Oh, goody.
Yay!
And in points of interest, you get a reminder that car shows should be for everyone, and that shouldn't need saying. But first, we have some follow-up, and the real big news of last week, when there was quite a number of big news items, actually, but the really big one that broke very recently was the ruling from the Supreme Court on the car financing issue. There was the possibility of it being billions and billions and billions of pounds to redress how dealers had not been totally open and transparent with customers about commissions and rates of interest that was agreed with finance companies on behalf of customers. There are two parts of this. There's a very good article from Money Saving Expert in the show notes that explains what turns out to be quite a nuanced topic and not the simplistic one that has been made out by initial reports on this.
Yes.
There's two types of car finance that was mis-selling that was being looked at. The first was discretionary commission arrangements, which the Supreme Court wasn't directly looking at. Now, according to this article, it says that applies to about 40% of the car finance deals, and this is where brokers and dealers could increase the amount of interest they charge customers without telling them on PCPs and hire purchases up to 2021 in order to increase their commission. That hidden commission is obviously an issue, and that one is actually going to be recompensed if people can show they were not informed properly. The second one, which is the one which the Supreme Court was looking at, was commission disclosure complaints. This is all to do with the Court of Appeal ruling that caught everybody by surprise in October last year, saying that car finance agreements didn't tell consumers all details of commission, including the amount, because they rarely did, apparently. They were unlawful, and that applies to up to 99% of car finance cases.
Yeah.
That's now mainly been overturned by the Supreme Court, which knocks out a large proportion of the complaints. But if it was shown that the commission arrangement was excessive, or the relationship between the dealer and the consumer was unfair, you can still complain, and you have the possibility of getting recompense. Because one of the examples was a chap was charged 55% extra because that boosted the dealer's commission, but he wasn't told they were doing that so the dealer could get a bigger commission. That was felt to be excessive.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is that the Financial Conduct Authority has now got to go away and think about all this, and they're going to ask questions around this in October this year on a consultation. They've got to work out what agreements should be included, the level of commission that is unfair, how far back do the complaints go, because there's talk of back to 2007, but the finance industry has said, we don't have the records, and the customers don't have the records. So how can we go back to 2007? That doesn't seem fair. They're looking for opinions back on that. If the scheme was opt-in or opt-out, how to calculate how much people are due, because they're already saying that the estimates are around about £950 or a maximum £950 per complaint, and how to calculate any interest for redress payments. So there's a lot still to be done. It's not as big as it was, but there's still actually quite a significant portion of people are able to claim. One of the things it does make clear in this article...
You've just beat me to it, yeah.
Yeah, I know I'm going a lot on about this, but and do read the article. But Money Saving Expert does say, do not sign up to a claims firm. You can do this for free.
Even if they're being advertised by your favourite motoring YouTuber. Apart from me.
Yeah, we don't have adverts yet.
Well, not ones we get any redress from, anyway.
Well, no, that's true. That's where everything is on this, where it comes to this. I don't think it was totally unfair when you read some of the details that they have kicked back some of this, because one of the major pushes was that they were trying to claim that the dealer should only be on the side of the customer. And the dealer's got to be on the side of themselves a bit to a certain degree. Otherwise, they don't make money.
The dealer's on the side of the dealer, and sometimes that means being on the side of the customer. Sometimes that means being on the side of the finance house. Sometimes that means being on the side of the manufacturer. The dealer is very much stuck in the middle between that, and so cannot always be on the side of the customer. Otherwise, it's just ain't going to work.
Yep. That's quite a lot of stuff there. Sorry, that's another large opening news item, 2 weeks on the trot there. Not as bad as last week.
No, not nearly as bad as last week. Moving on, though, the Renault Group has announced the successor to Luca De Meo, and that is François Provost. He has been at Renault for 23 years. Most recently, he oversaw procurement, partnerships, and public affairs. It's kind of strange because the British interim CEO, Duncan Minto, was in role for just over a week.
Did he get a chance to warm the seat?
Yeah, I know. It's like, and at the end of July as well. So maybe it was only because he was the only person not on holiday at the time. But he moves back to his role as CFO, and I'm sure that he will be suitably compensated for his week as CEO. In a statement about his appointment, Renault Group cited a particular focus on expanding the firm's presence across international markets and partnership development. According to Will Rimmel on this Autocar article. Finally, an announcement about Luca De Meo's replacement. Luca De Meo, by the way, if you think, why did he move to Kering, which is not how you pronounce it actually, to head up, the luxury goods group, I'm sure was it 20 million euro signing on bonus might have had something to do with why that was an appealing idea.
Yes. Yeah, can't think why.
As you do. Oh, yeah, it's fine. You do that for 5 years or 3 years or whatever the contract is, and then you retire. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take us into new news, and the big story was that another big story was that Adrian Mardell had resigned or quit as JLR CEO. He was going to be
retired. Andrew retired.
Is he retiring now? Well, sorry, the announcement said he was retiring. Yes, sorry.
Yes.
Whether he goes on to do anything else and comes out of retirement, we have yet to see. And he is now going to be replaced by the Tata finance boss, P.B. Balaji. He is already on the board of JLR, has been aware of everything that's been happening recently with JLR. But not only that, he is also on the board of Tata Motors Passengers Vehicles, Tata Passenger Electric Mobility, Tata Motors Finance Group, and also Agritas, which is the battery factory that's being built in Somerset.
Does make me wonder how much time he's going to be able to devote specifically to the JLR house of brands.
Well, I presume or would hope, for the sake of JLR, that he resigns from most of those other boards.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, well, I think we have to see what happens full stop.
I mean, Mardell was only in place for a little while, taking over quite suddenly. Well, he's definitely got the credit for sorting out the security and locking issues and security issues with JLR products.
Yes. I presume that was already ongoing in the background, but he really pushed it forward.
I think there's lots of stuff like that, though, that I think was ongoing in the background, like the whole House of Brands thing that I've now made fun of twice in the last 5 minutes. And I'm sure that the new Jaguar strategy, Bentley, Taycan rival thing it was also already partly ongoing. There's been a lot of supply chain stuff has been sorted under his watch. I think there's been a bit of, I'm sure that has been
changes were happening, weren't they? Changes were happening.
Yes. I think what he's done is he's caretaken what was happening.
I mean, profit-wise, you can't argue with the profits.
Well, exactly. And visibly, I don't know that there's a lot, but maybe internally there's loads more that's been happening.
We will wait and see.
Stellantis, let's work our way through the big automotive groups this week.
Well, it has just been end of half year recently, so now people have got their finance reports out. So it's a pretty grim news coming down the pipeline, really.
Yeah, especially, Stellantis. I mean, there's that lost almost a quarter of their shipments in North America. Is not a good start to that.
No.
Down 98,000 to 1.4 million units shipped in Europe. It's not very, especially North America. North America sucks for Stellantis at the minute. And as it says here, somebody somewhere, specifically Antonio Filosa, is where the buck's going to stop, has to decide what the heck they're going to do with a lot of Stellantis, because there are so many brands.
There's just too many.
Overlapping.
Yeah. And there doesn't appear to be clear differentials between so many of them as well.
And that's more of an issue in Europe. In North America, though, there are 4 or 5 key American brands. I'm not really including Alfa and Maserati in this. That, again, just seem to be a smusher of what's Dodge, what's Chrysler, what's Jeep, and Ram sell very expensive pickup trucks by the whole market. And they were going to electrify stuff, and now they've gone back to, we're going to Hemi all the things again. And it just seems North America is a particular mess. I do feel that, though, that motoring journalists who look at Stellantis look at it only as North America, and motoring journalists who look at Stellantis from Europe look at it as only Europe.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning, by the way, growth in South America, primarily in Argentina as well. So it's not all gloom and doom for Stellantis and some of the more developing markets, and they're doing really quite well. But those are probably ones where there are fewer brands, less confusion, and also fewer competitors too.
Yep.
Tricky one.
I don't think it's going to get any easier for them either until they make the tough decisions needed, quoting the new CEO.
Yes, he said, my first weeks as CEO have reconfirmed my strong conviction that we will fix what's wrong in Stellantis by capitalizing on everything that's right in Stellantis. Starting from the strength, energy, and ideas of our people combined with the great new products we're now bringing to market already.
And to be fair, they are getting a lot of praise in Europe anyway. They're getting a lot of praise for their new products, like the Jeep Avenger, the electric Jeep Avenger. It gets good reviews. But
the one that's not sold in North America. Yeah.
Their electric offerings do seem to be decent. And they just need the B segment stuff. So the Grandi Pandi, the EC3, that sort of stuff, that segment needs to grow quicker, which I'm sure it will.
Yeah. Porsche.
Yeah, continuing the theme of, oh dear, it's the finance results. Porsche has cut its 2025 forecast, predominantly thanks to the US tariff, FAF. But also, on top of that, they are still continuing to hemorrhage their market share in China. The latest financial results, they generated 18.6 billion euros, which is down 1.3 billion euros for the first half of the year, with operating profits of just over 1 billion euros, which is down from, 3.06 billion euros last year. Now, that's quite a chunk to take.
Still a profit, still an operating profit, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But it's tough. And stuff like the Macan E has not been as well received as I think they hoped.
I think there is a big problem for the premium stroke luxury EV makers that people are not flocking to buy their products as they had hoped, which makes the decision for JLR to postpone a sensible one. I mean, I wasn't decrying that it wasn't a sensible decision last week when we were talking about it. I was just worried that they talked about testing as well.
Yeah.
But the idea that there isn't the demand from customers is a valid one. It doesn't help with governments making announcements in certain ways and how they are trying to push this.
It's entire changes of strategy in major markets.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's where the problem comes.
And don't forget, Porsche have been hampered as well because of CARIAD.
Yes, well, yeah, that's an ongoing joy.
Yeah. Anyway, do you want to take us to Scandinavia for some, finally, good news?
Yes, the city of Helsinki in Finland is claiming that it's gone a full year without a traffic death. Helsinki, for comparative purposes, is, 600 and something people?
600 people?
600,000, I meant to say. I'm sorry.
You'll be twinning it with St. David's in Wales if it's 600.
Yes. No. So I'll say it's a city of about the same size as Glasgow, it seems. Basically, the last traffic fatality occurred early in July 2024, and they're saying that there's a lot of factors have contributed to it, one of which is that there's a significant investment and there's excellent public transport. There's good alternatives to driving, but driving is there. It's part of the scene. There's just a whole range of different reasons all working together around infrastructure, around behavior, and stuff to try to improve this. They're saying actually one of the biggest challenges recently has been electric scooters rather than anything else. But they are saying that credit belongs to everyone, motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians. So there is no blame. There is no one factor being pointed at. And I think what's important in these situations, I mean, this is all being explained by a traffic engineer. Obviously, the traffic engineering is going to be the most important part of everything that's happening here. But I do think, having spent time in the US and stuff and seen infrastructure in the UK, and how that can vary wildly depending on where you are, then the infrastructure is at least as important as the things that run on the infrastructure and the people who use the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Or who control the things that run on the infrastructure.
It often gets forgotten. Particularly in these discussions about making roads safer for all users, particularly vulnerable users. Sometimes it is the design of the infrastructure is not adequate for what is wanting to be achieved, and that can be that there isn't active travel separated, that the roads are, not well sited or not well lit, stuff. You've got to take a holistic look at this.
One of the things that struck me over the last few years has been traffic light timing. Never really thought about it before. But when you have very long timings in complex junctions, then it takes a long time before your turn comes round again as a driver. So what you see is people are more likely to cut through the light on red just as it changes, because you know that it's going to be a significant hold-up if not. Similarly, pedestrians get bored waiting and then take more risks crossing the road because it takes longer for it to come around to them. So actually, traffic light timing has become one of those things.
Yeah, and I'm not picking on pedestrians, but it is very notable the number of people that will see the red man and still walk across. And you sort of go, come on, you've got to, we've all got to work together here.
But it comes into that whole lead character syndrome that we talked about not so long ago. People thinking that they are the most important person in the world, and so they're a pedestrian, so the drivers are going to stop for me anyway, which is a very dangerous piece of thinking, and that's the kind of thing that leads to the accidents.
Yep.
No matter what the heck you do to the size of the cars or whatever else. And having a place where that doesn't necessarily need to happen, and of course that the mentality is much more let's all work together to achieve things, that all helps, and I'm sure that has contributed to Helsinki's success in this.
Yeah, and well done them.
Yeah, exactly. Last story before Gilman, Andrew.
Yeah, and this is the news that Tesla have been partially responsible for the death of one person and causing serious injuries to another in a crash where the driver of one of their cars was using the autopilot system. The jury has awarded Dylan Angelo and the family of Nibel Benvadis $329 million. $129 million is the compensatory damages and $200 million in punitive charges. Tesla take 1/3 of all that responsibility. The driver bore 2/3, but the driver was trying to claim that he was trying to pick up his phone and he thought that the autopilot would be able to take control of the vehicle for those few seconds while he was fishing his phone out that had dropped on the floor. But it didn't. Funnily enough, it didn't stop, didn't slow down. It didn't work as he said he thought it would. There is a link to a Register article here, which is worth reading through, because they quote Missy Cummings, who we've discussed on the show many times, who is a safety advisor. And she makes it very clear, I think, what she said when they asked about Musk's claim that Tesla with the system would drive safer than any human. And she said in court, it wasn't true then and it isn't true now. which anyone who's listened to our show for any length of time will know we have echoed ourselves.
Is it worth quickly mentioning that Tesla, and this is in a separate article on electric, should you wish to go to electric, the efforts that they went to get rid, to hide, obfuscate the data around this by the vehicle crashing and then basically uploading everything to Tesla services and wiping itself within 30 minutes. That meant Tesla had complete control over the data.
Yeah, trustworthy, transparent, honest, open, and out there to make life safer for everyone. That's what companies who are into that, that's what they do, is they make sure that they control the data and do everything they can to not release said data.
Yes, it's a guilt minute, quick break in the show where we ask for a tad of financial support to keep the lights on and the hosting running. If you feel the Motoring Podcast worth a small consideration every month, then you can become a patron. The different levels of patron include different levels of commitment from us to you, including being able to watch the show recorded live. We also have a small range of merchandise in our spring store, from stickers to mugs and t-shirts. If you don't have any spare cash, and we do completely understand that, then you can help us by following for free from a podcast player to receive every show as they're released, and by liking and rating the show whatever way your podcast supplier lets you. I'm going to sit here and bang the YouTube drum once again. Signing up podcast players are great, and we like most of them an awful lot. YouTube gives us extra little help by moving us ever towards the ability to actually get some money back from YouTube, which is something that very few other platforms ever even give the hint of promising.
Yeah.
If you can, follow us on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff to get notifications, watch any videos. That would be fab. Thank you. If you've done all that, and some of you do, so thank you once again, the last thing you can do is to recommend us to your friends or colleagues.
Thank you, everyone. Your help is very much appreciated. Right, new car news, Alan, and frankly, I don't care about any of these that we're going to discuss. I'm very sorry, everyone.
I like 2/3 of them, and you'll be able to tell which ones. Vauxhall have revealed a new Mokka GSE with a big E. And Evo is asking if it's the first proper performance Vauxhall since VXR's death. I don't necessarily agree with that. But I do think the idea of a small hatch, even if it is jacked up, with a 276 horsepower motor, a limited slip diff, upgraded suspension and brakes, that does actually sound interesting to me. Because I like the idea that it's not an EV that's not just engineered to go fast in a straight line and get a ridiculously dangerous 0 to 60 time, but also might be a lot of fun in the bends, particularly tuned and suited to UK and European bends. Some people might say that this is a waste of engineering effort. However,
do it to the Corsa. Then I might be interested. But an SUV, it's a fundamentally flawed concept to start off with.
But it's not an SUV, is it? It's not. It's a slightly jacked up hatchback.
As per Blue Sky yesterday.
We're into this whole discussion. Yes, it is. It is more of a crossover. Yes, I don't have a problem with it. It's marketing to a demographic that is more likely to want to buy or lease this. They have the money to actually buy it. So many times, there's performance derivatives come out of vehicles, and they're great, but nobody can afford them, or they're not. They're not being marketed to a market that is in a position to be able to enjoy it. They've done that here. They've done that to the Mokka. It is a shame it's not the Corsa. I agree. But on the other hand, I'm not complaining about this. It gets mechanical limited slip diff at the front, sits 10 mil lower on its revised suspension, and features new double hydraulic shock absorbers, new axles. To rear one is 189% increase in roll stiffness compared to the standard car. And I don't know if that says something about poor roll stiffness in the standard car, but it might just make it a little less comfortable. There's 4-piston Alcon brakes on the front, 380mm discs. I think it's cool. I think it's great that they're trying it. They're really nice looking seats inside, by the way. And I am totally in favour of it. Prices, by the way, come in just a little bit below £37,000, which happens to be the threshold for the UK government electric car grant. One last little touch paper for Andrew's anger. I like it. We're going to move on now, and he's going to talk about the Jaecoo 5, which is the Evoque rival, which is a very polite way of saying copy.
Yes. Again, when the Goodwood Festival of Speed, even the people describing it couldn't avoid but say, there's some very recognizable lines and designs in the Jaecoo that you might recognize. But the Jaecoo 5 is a smaller version of the 7, which I am sure everyone has seen on the roads. They have managed to sell...
It's the one that looks a bit like Hannibal Lecter, he says, making the grill with his hand.
Just this year, they've managed to sell a fraction under 8,400 of them this year alone, so they're doing well on that front, or register them anyway. This will start at 24,505 and comes with a 1.6-litre turbocharged petrol engine to start off with. The EV details will be coming to us, it is quoted in this Autocar article, in the coming weeks. It's just a smaller version of the 7. It's 5-seater, so it's going to come with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all-round parking cameras, vertical touchscreen. That's in the entry level, but if you go up, that's pure. But if you go up to the luxury, you'll get panoramic roof, wireless phone charging, heated and ventilated front seats from £28,000.
The 7, by the way, I have been and driven the 7. It was an car. It didn't feel cheap or rubbish on sort of first 10-minute introduction to it. But on the other hand, I wasn't, wow, this is an amazing thing I must drive. It's perfectly decent, and I'm sure that the 5 will be perfectly decent as well, and that if that's what you're looking for from a vehicle, if you're not really, if you want decent price, decent spec, decent build quality, and there's a dealer in your vicinity, then that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to do well on fleets as well.
Yeah, well, depends on support, fleet support stuff, but yes.
Anyway, do you want to take us on to another company who I couldn't care about because I don't think they're going to be here very long?
So it's just the overwhelming positivity this week. That's what's getting me.
I'm Cheerful Charlie today in New Car News.
General Motors Europe. Do you remember General Motors Europe? They used to be a thing. They are bringing back and reintroducing Cadillac to the European market. Now, we might remember the last time they did this with the STS, with its 4-point-something-litre North Star V8, which was notorious for not being a wonderfully reliable engine.
We've got one local.
They look nice. I actually quite like them in an American fashion.
We've got. I can't believe it. I nearly crashed when I saw it because it was like, hang on.
But no, General Motors established its new European arm in Zurich in 2021. I don't know if anybody's ever looked, but over the years they have retained Chevrolet and Cadillac and all the URLs for all the websites for European versions for .co.uk. And so they're starting to actually consider bringing these back. First off with the versions of the Chevrolet Corvette, the Stingray, which is the top one.
I think so, yeah.
And then there's the hybrid E-Ray, the ZR1, which is the tracky one. But they're now looking to move on from that, having made some sales, established a little bit of a dealership set up, and that's with Cadillac. Cadillac, they are looking to bring in 2 models. They are definitely looking to bring in the Lyric SUV. Now, it's getting on for BMW 7 Series size, large 5 Series.
Massive is the word you're trying to find.
It is quite large. It is large. It's a hatchback. It's electric. It doesn't look like any of the German brands. It's not pretending to be any of the German brands. It is an SUV/crossover, insert your term here, in the same kind of style as the Alfa Romeo Stelvio is, in that it's about the same size, a slightly jacked up estate car, as opposed to being a suburban.
Yes.
It's that kind of size. They're also looking to bring in a second model, which is the Optic, which again is, this time it is more of an SUV.
Possibly the Optic. It's the one that kind of makes sense given its EV, and given it's about the same size as a BMW X3. It is 6 centimeters longer, but is a bit lower. It's actually a fractionally narrower, but then quite a lot of things are fractionally narrower than the current generation BMW X3 I've learned recently. Well, no, just while sitting and going, this is quite wide, and then going and looking, it's like, well, this is 9 centimeters wider than my Land Cruiser. Wow.
Yes, well, the current X3 is as big as the original X5 was in footprint on the ground.
Car bloat is a frustrating thing.
Yeah, it's quite bad in some of them.
Yeah.
But the optics, so it's not an unreasonable size, and it is quite good looking, and it doesn't look like any of the European brands. That's probably quite a good thing. I think they're good looking cars. I think they're American in a good way, as opposed to American in a bad way.
Okay.
If you follow my drift.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. My problem, I think, here is they're going for direct to customer.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be no dealers, which always makes me worried, because we've seen how many companies that started that way are now going, actually, we need dealerships.
Well, Genesis is a very recent addition to that particular list.
Polestar.
Polestar as well. I mean, some tried and failed, but maybe we're ahead of their time with like Infinity, but then, it all depends on management. Which is the most likely challenge here is, if this is difficult,
how much time will they be given?
How long will General Motors management give them? Because traditionally, GM's biggest enemy is GM management.
Yeah.
Itself. Engineers go off and do great things, and that's what's happening, by the way, with these electric Cadillacs. These are getting really good write-ups. They are really rated by the journalists and stuff in the US. Seems to be some uptake, although goodness knows what's going to happen with that. And by the way, these are going to be right-hand drive.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. These aren't just going to be left-hand drive, like as we've seen in the past with some of these kind of half-hearted attempts. There's some serious effort going into it. Let's just see. Anyway, those new car news. 2/3 of it was great.
If you say so. Anyway, moving on to points of interest, which is all good, actually, this week.
Yeah, it's cracking stuff.
And I'm going to start with a lunchtime read. I think I've given you enough videos to watch recently. We're back to reading, ladies and gentlemen. And this time it's from Haggerty. And the article is written by John Burgess and is titled, Peugeot's Brilliant Torsion Bar Rear Axle. Guess what it's about, everyone? No, it is the history of the work that Peugeot did to their suspension and chassis stuff, and it's a fascinating read. I read it all the way through to the end on one sitting because I was like, I never knew that, and I didn't know that. Oh, they put it there. Oh my word. Oh, hang on. And all the detail that John goes into is absolutely astonishing and excellent.
This is a perfect motoring podcast lunchtime read. It is wonderfully nerdy.
Yes.
And I think it's great that it got published. And I really enjoyed reading it and learning all sorts of stuff that when I repeat it to normals, they will go, really? So?
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes me very happy.
There is no higher praise out there.
I remember, so there's an illustration here of a Peugeot 305 Estate, and I remember a geography teacher at prep school having one that was very similar, but for some reason he'd put the pickup or the van springs under the rear of it, so it sat like a funny car dragster, but he said it was great, I can load it up with everything. Quite a large family, so it made sense really, but lots of fun stuff in there. List of the week this week. Autocar, thank you. The strangest car publicity photos ever published. I don't think they're all of the strangest ones, but they definitely illustrate all of the different genres that there can be, from strange people, weird posing, odd lifestyle, and just outright weird.
Yes.
Andrew, your turn to choose first.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to pick one that is absolutely astonishing that it ever was released, actually, when you see it. And if you turn to slide 10, this is the Chevrolet Bel Air, which is pretending to show people looking over the wall of a neighbour's house at the new Bel Air that is on their driveway. Unfortunately, though, you can see the studio ceiling in the top of the picture.
That's so true, yeah.
And you go,
he's great, man.
Hang on, why didn't you crop it down a bit more?
Pre-Photoshop days. It is, yes. It's wonderfully posed in a way that you would expect from America of that time. And at least it is a photograph and not just an artist's impression of something lower, longer, and sleeker. Which happened a lot.
True. I also have to call out the description for slide 15 is absolutely incorrect. Whoever wrote that needs to go back and look at the picture again. Slide 16 is the one that I was going for. No, but that was cool. But slide 15, if you read the description, that is not what is happening in the picture at all.
No, that's true. That's yes, good. No, that's not. The one for me is 16, where it says jeune au volant, which is not the French driving test at all being done that way. It is young drivers, one of these young drivers courses that they run quite often, certainly here in the UK these days. So, speaking of French, am I allowed to choose mine? Because there are 37 slides here, so I think I can choose. So I'm going to choose slide 30 in your handout, which is the original Renault Scenic concept.
Oh, yes, I nearly picked that.
And there's a chap shining a torch on a skull, and then there's another person inside the Scenic shining a torch up at their face, in a desert against the sunset. It is quite strange. This one, I don't just want to choose this one, but I want to say this was a whole genre of particularly Renault publicity photos from around this time. Where the one that always reminds me is like the Renault Zoom. Do you remember the Renault Zoom, the one that folds?
Yeah.
The one that folded. That concept. Where there was a period around then that French stuff always had to have women in tight-fitting silver outfits, looking like they had just landed from another planet. And this slightly sort of falls into that category.
This is very much we are from the future.
Yes.
Because he's showing his son, I presume is his son.
Oh, I hadn't realised that. Yes,
I know, it took me a while to spot that as well.
And he's wearing shiny clothes. So
yes,
it's absolutely of the genre I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Which is most strange. There were a whole, this is the only example in here.
Yeah.
But there was a whole genre of these from Renault from the early 90s, which are, they could be a list in themselves.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I think a special shout out should go to slide 25 as well. Everybody do go click check slide 25.
This is such a worthwhile. Yeah. No. I know what he's doing there. I'm not going to give away what he did. I know what he's doing there. Because the first step was to jack up the car and remove the wheel arch liners. And then this is him trying to change the indicator bulb. Okay?
Yes.
That's genius.
While seemingly not wearing anything.
About that one. Yeah, well, that happens when you drive one of those. It's because you've already paid that in repairs. The dealer has taken the shirt off your back. Do have a look at slide 25. I don't want to give away what it is.
Yeah. There's a bunch of really mad ones in here. Yeah, so we've picked so many. Sorry about that, everyone. But do click the link in the show notes because you will enjoy.
We've still left an awful lot of strange. So yeah, go for it. Go grab that.
Right, we're going to go on to the and finally.
Yes.
And this is from Autocar, written by Steve Cropley, and it is titled, Meet the UK's newest and most inclusive car show. As I said in the introduction, that car shows are not inclusive shouldn't be a thing in 2025. I struggle to work that out. I realise that it is difficult for so many people in the LGBTQ plus community. They still get enormous amounts of hatred and abuse, and it just baffles me. I can't fathom it from someone. This was Petrol and Pride, by the way, that was held at the British Motor Museum at Gaydon on a Friday afternoon a couple of weeks ago. It's got some publicity. It's been written up here, and it's great. Why shouldn't people be able to wander around a car show and hold their husbands or their wives' hands and whatever else, and not be afraid of any repercussions from anyone who might be there and has decided that that's not an acceptable thing, whereas it perfectly is. This is really in here because I got so mad at the haters in the comments on this. If it's a good reason to never read the bottom half of the internet. Mm.
But yeah, I'm glad it came to my attention. I think it's great. I think there should be more stuff like that.
Yeah, and if you see it out there, give it a boost.
Yes, absolutely. And I see that this hasn't just been covered by Autocar; it's been covered by lots of outlets. I think it's a really cool thing to have happened. So well done to Wayne Bruce, the Bentley comms director, and everyone else who was involved. I am having a complete mental blank at people's names. I'm so sorry. Lister boss Lawrence Whitaker was involved in it. The PR chap, whose name I have completely missed, who was former Aston Martin Formula One PR guy, was behind this as well. Good work, everyone. More.
Yeah. Just show that it's normal.
Yeah.
Do it. I mean, it's normal.
GTF on with it. On which happy note, I think that's us, isn't it?
I think so too.
Excellent. So don't forget, folks, now next week you can give us any feedback, share your thoughts on the show at motoringpodcast.com on Blue Sky, at Motoring Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and on the content page of all the W's, motoringpodcast.com, hub of all our activities. Remember, you can support us financially via Patreon, and please leave a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing. Andrew, what's the best way you can get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch with me is if you search for Crack Windscreen on Blue Sky. But if you prefer LinkedIn, I am there under my actual name as well. And Alan, if people would like to get in touch with you personally, what's the best way for them to do that? Best
way to get in touch with me is really to use Blue Sky, where I'm at ajpbradley.bsky.social. That's BRADLEY. I forgot to mention, in the parish notes, there is a walk around of my Lexus has hit YouTube. Yeah. So do go have a look and see me point at things in my daily driver and be overly dull about some aspects. But never mind, it's a one-take thing, so that's what you've got, folks. We'll be back very soon. Until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clues.
And safe motoring.